fantasy playoffs. This is the Sunday War Room with our fabulous, already arguing panel. Gentlemen, please introduce yourselves. Start with the one who wasn't here last week. Hi, Jared.
Hola, the cat's doing fine. He's been sleeping like always during the show. I think we found a little routine, which is cool. You can follow me, Ricco, RICCO_3733. For the record, I was right, but I was wrong. I was right, but I was wrong, but I was right. That's all there is to it.
Are you married, Jared? Are you married?
No, absolutely
not.
Does
he look like he's married with those takes?
You and your wife, when you do get a wife, who's right, who's wrong? I'm guessing you're always going to be right.
It's tough because I like to hear those words, you were right. I should have been an attorney.
All right.
The Fantasy G Pod on Twitter, Facebook group, the DFS Roundtable, and every Friday on the DFS show. Last Friday's show was something, that's for sure. Here on Sunday.
And of course, Hamid, our stats guy.
FF Junkie 85, baby. And you can find me on goingfor2.com. And first of all, I want our audience to know Jared had made a pick 2 weeks ago where he argued that we should bench Aaron Jones.
Overtime.
Wait, me and Fantasy G said that
we said point. We said point.
A.J. Brown was the better play. A.J. Brown outscored Aaron Jones that week, and now Jared owes me and G a big board that says that him and I were right. Jared, what happened? Where is it?
In overtime. There's 4 quarters of play.
The point.
What's the better pick? Overtime. Are you kidding me?
So when a person asks an expert like you, hey, is A.J. Brown better than Aaron Jones in 4 quarters, or if the game goes to overtime, is it 5 quarters?
That's an extenuating circumstance.
Extenuating circumstance.
And for the record, today's thought of the day: mothers only get 1 day, sharks get a whole week.
Oh, okay.
Anyway. First question: PPR, Gaskin and Booker.
Gaskins is going to be the 3 down back there. There's
nobody behind him.
Yeah, there's really no other running back on that offense. They're dealing with a bunch of injuries on their depth. So yeah, Gaskin is the play, the 3 down back. Granted, Booker is also without Josh Jacobs, but Jalen Richards has been out the past 2 weeks. He is active this week. I don't trust Booker to be the 3 down back or have all the Josh Jacobs touches. So I'm taking Gaskins here, especially with Tua starting. Yeah, definitely Gaskins.
Jared, what say you?
I have to actually agree. Unfortunately, that's not the way I wanted to start the show, but here we are.
I'm really sorry to disappoint you. Ryan wants to know the better play between Dallas Goedert or Evan Ingram in a PPR.
Dallas Goedert or Evan Ingram PPR.
You have Danny Dimes out, which could change the flow of the game for Ingram getting his targets. The safer play is Goddard's, but the Packers are allowing the 5th fewest fantasy points to tight ends, so keep that in consideration when you play him. But I still start Goddard given the idea with Danny Dimes out.
Comment, you answer because I'm doing something real quick.
Sure, yeah. So I'm actually going to go the other way around. I'm actually going to go with Evan Ingram here. Now, granted, Jared makes a good point, but I have to go with Evan Ingram here. Even the week, I know Evan Ingram has been getting significant targets, and he's been a staple of this offense where you can actually make a solid point that he is the number 1 option on passing for that team. So until I see since week 7, Evan Ingram has had 1 game where he's had less than 10.9 fantasy points. Now, of course, Colt McCoy is not Danny Dimes. Totally understand that. No. But I don't think Colt McCoy is going to be throwing to his wide receiver as much as he probably will be throwing to his tight end and Wayne Gallman, my boy, who is going to be a stud this week. So I'm going with Evan Ingram. Granted, the ceiling is significantly lower without Daniel Jones. And to Jared's point, I was going to bring this up as well, that the defense the Eagles are facing are giving up significantly fewer points to the tight end position. So in a game where, and I believe the Giants are facing Seattle, right? In a game that McCoy is going to have to be throwing a ton to keep up with that offense because the Giants defense is not going to slow down the Seahawks. I think Evan Ingram has the higher ceiling, although lower for his standards as we've been seeing lately. So give me Evan Ingram here.
What say you, G?
Yeah, I got Ingram. David has done enough analysis on that, so I'll take Ingram.
Okay, Matt wants to know, Debo and Kamara, are they good pivots plays for GPP, which goes right into our G segment?
I'm not touching Kamara. Debo, yeah. I like Debo. But is that game on the slate? Debo's game? No. That game not on the main slate. But I'm guessing he's playing, I don't know, another slate. But, yeah. I'm not a big Kamara guy until I get Drew Brees back because we've seen what's been happening. Doesn't seem like he's really, really taken off like we're supposed to. You know, you would think that quarterback goes down, they would run the ball a lot, which they do, but Latavius Murray is doing a lot of his touches. Kamara only gotten 3 receptions in the last two weeks, right? Yeah, I scaled back on Kamara.
So, G, on that line, who are your running backs for this week for your DFS?
My running back core, number 1 is Derrick Henry. He's definitely my number 1 owned running back. Facing Cleveland, ranked 20th in DVOA against the run, against running back. After that, yes, I get Dalvin Cook's a good play. I'm not going to have too much of him. I'm still a little bit worried about the quote the coach said earlier in the week that they're going to scale back the workload on him a little bit because, you know, he's battling through stuff. Yeah. But the thing is, according to some projections, touches are still there for Dalvin Cook. $9,500 though, very expensive in a great matchup against Jacksonville. Not gonna say I'm gonna fade him, but I'm gonna be higher on other running backs. Austin Eckler is my one and favorite running back that I'm gonna have in a lot of my single entrants and 3 max entered. 7,100, very underpriced. 28th in DVOA defense versus New England. This is gonna be an excellent spot for him because I don't think any of those linebackers or really safety. I think of McCourty back there at safety can cover Eckler out of the backfield in those pass catching westward route that he runs usually. But with that being said, the chalk. Everybody's going to be on 2 guys: David Montgomery and Devontae Booker. Both good plays. I know a lot of people have been burnt by David Montgomery. We all hate him. This is not a week you want to fade him because he has a great matchup against Detroit. Detroit just fired their head coach and their, what we call it, general manager or manager? What do you call him?
GM, yeah.
GM, yeah.
GM. Bevel, if you know a little about Bevel, he actually plays at a higher pace on offense. So I expect that game to be a little bit higher pace. So I like that for David Montgomery. James Robinson, I feel like I say James Robinson every week, but it's paying off. I mean, he does good every week. Outside of Nick Chubb for sure. But outside of that, those are my core running back. But it's really condensed this week because there's so many. Oh, Gaskin too. Sorry, Myles Gaskin is definitely up there. I always forget about him because he's just like a name that I remember. But yeah,
he's an under the radar guy who just performs.
Yeah, I mean, he got hurt. He was running back.
So Garrett wants to know, is Orion Stack sneaky or dumb this week?
Well, what stack?
I hope.
A stack with Matt Ryan, I'm guessing he's.
I don't know. Garrett, do you mean Matt Ryan or Ryan Tannehill or please don't say Ryan Fitzpatrick? So while you answer that, we will go to Joe's question, and that's, should I start Tannehill or Lamar? Is Lamar cleared? Lamar's not cleared off COVID yet.
I think he's cleared now.
Lamar Jackson will be playing.
Yeah, he's cleared, but I'll be honest with you. I have that same situation in one of my leagues, and I'm actually starting Tannehill. I'm kind of over Lamar Jackson. Woo! Not really performing up to his expectation. To me, we relied on that 30-point ceiling, and we haven't seen it much this year. Has he even gotten one game over 30 points this year?
No.
Yeah, so I see Tannehill having a big game this week. He's going to be in one of my stacks for sure. But it's just, I don't know, man. Like I'm over this whole Raven team. I'm done with them. basically. Like the running back, cool. Tight end, Mark Andrews. Yeah, well, I think Mark Andrews might have be the only person I'll play out of that Raven whole team.
So, G, let's go with your quarterbacks then. Who's your quarterback for this?
Just really quick chat point. Sorry, guys. Just really quick. Keep in mind, Lamar Jackson has not practiced in the past 2 weeks since he's been on with COVID. He's been away from the team. He's had very limited reps in the past 2 weeks, and Lamar Jackson already wasn't he wasn't really good throwing the ball anyway this season, and now not having practiced for a significant amount of time, I don't even expect him to reach close to his ceiling, even for this year's standards that he has, which are lower. So, if you can fade Lamar Jackson for someone else like Tannehill, can't believe I'm saying this, Jerry, don't you dare put a smile on your face. That's not a bad option at all, and I would be 100% okay with that.
You're being recorded. Just know that you're recorded saying that. Same with you, G.
So here's the thing. The other thing about Lamar Jackson is that Tannehill the whole situation with Tannehill. It first the Cleveland Browns. I mean, I think Cleveland Browns are a little bit overrated on the pass defense stat analytic stuff because they really in the last 4 weeks they've gotten or 3 weeks before last week they've really been like good on defense on pass because of the weather. And I think this game is going to be Tannehill show. But again, I'm doing the same thing. I'm starting Tannehill over Jackson. So,
by the way, the Browns.
Also, remember that Cleveland will be going without Denzel Ward this week too. So they're missing in the secondary.
They do have Myles Garrett back though, but I think Tannehill is the better play here. The Browns are giving up the third most passing touchdowns to the quarterback position.
Just took my up.
But that's the thing with Ryan Tannehill. He's one of the top quarterbacks that gets rid of the ball really quick.
Not just that, he's extremely efficient as well. Tannehill doesn't need to throw the ball 30 times to finish inside the QB1 range, and even in 10-man leagues, top 10 for that matter.
It's crazy. This game's the highest total on Vegas. That's what blew my mind.
Tannehill, I think, is like one of the top throwing touchdowns when he's pressured, so Myles Garrett shouldn't bother him. Let's go back real quick before Garrett's question was Matt Ryan. So Matt Ryan, Calvin Ridley, Hurst, Thomas.
Well, yeah, Hurst in that stack. You know, like go for ceiling because I think I like the Matt Ryan stack. They're going to be on one of my $100 roster. He's very sneaky. He's very cheap. Julio's cheap, 6,400, I believe, 64 or 70. Yeah, 6,400 for Julio. Come on, where's Julio? Yeah, he's 6,600. My bad. And then I think Ridley is like 7,200. But the thing is, where you're getting cheap is Matt Ryan. He's like 5,900. I might be wrong on all these, but that's why. Yep, 5,600. So it's really cheap. I'm not bringing it back with Thomas though. I want to be different because Thomas is 7,000. I'm still not a believer in Taysom Hill as a passer. So yeah, Thomas has gotten there one time, but like in the other game, he didn't even get like 7 points, right? Like.
FYI, Taysom Hill has this many passing touchdowns in the past 2 weeks.
Yeah. So
0.
Yeah, I mean, last week he only had 4 receptions, 50 yards. I'm not. If I wanted 4 receptions, 50 yards, I'll go play Emmanuel Sanders at $2,000 cheaper. You know, but it allows you to pay up for running back, which is what you're going to want to do this week. I'm in all my 150 this week. I'm not going to play a wide receiver or tight end in my flex spot. I'm going all running back.
So, all right, Matt wants to know James Robinson or Lockett or Diggs in DFS.
Or Diggs? Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Robinson pick one.
Or Diggs. Pick one.
Oh.
I guess for flex, I'm assuming.
I would go with. Wait, why Diggs? He's not on the slate, is he?
I don't think he is on the slate. Isn't there?
No, that's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow. Yeah. So it's Lockett or Robinson. I'm going Lockett.
Either way, even if Diggs was on the slate, I would still go Robinson. I think his workload is safe, and in this game environment, it's going to be high scoring. He's going to have a lot of opportunities in the red zone. So yeah, give me Robinson over those two guys. I love Lockett though. I think he's a very good contrarian play at wide receiver.
Yeah, I know, and I own Lockett, and I've been burned by him a few weeks. Last week especially, I needed him to have I lost by 2 points. So and he only got me like what 5? I think he had 5 points, 5.2, 5.3 fantasy points.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely frustrating. But I think this is a game where Lockett does have a bounce back against the Giants. With so much tension that's going to be. First of all, no one can cover DK Metcalf on the team anyway. But I do think that this is a game where Lockett does actually bounce back. I don't expect 50 points from him. I think James Robinson and Lockett both finished pretty close to each other, to be honest. So I think you can't go wrong with either. Now it just comes down to who's the less expensive play. And I'm assuming it's James Robinson who's a bit cheaper than Lockett.
Yeah, he is. No, they're actually the same price almost. I think Robinson 7,300 and Lockett like 73, 7,400. So they're $100 apart. But the thing is, it's just volume, and I'm going to get a lot of volume out of Robinson.
Yeah, and there's nothing. I like both. I think they both finished close to each other, so I can't blame.
And as always, if you don't want to make the playoffs, you'll listen to Hamid. So again, you have to play James Robinson here. It's inevitable. It makes the most sense. They're also, you ain't got to worry about weather being in Minnesota. So just ignore whatever he just said as usual and stick true to James Robinson.
Okay. Dean, who are your quarterbacks? I'm sorry, we skipped over. Who are your core quarterbacks this week?
Okay. So quarterback this week, out of all the whole year, quarterback has been like easy to narrow down. Last week I said I had Patrick Mahomes in 150 rosters. I did play Patrick Mahomes in 150 rosters. I locked him in, and then on my single entrance and all that, I played like 4 different quarterbacks. But there's one quarterback that stands out from all of them, and his name is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, 6,800. Philadelphia ranked 20th in DVOA. I don't know, is Darius Slay out? Because if he's out, that's even a better play.
I don't think so.
I'll tell you in a second.
It pissed me off because at the beginning of the week, like Tuesday, he was coming in at like 2.9% ownership, and then all of a sudden, the smart people started talking about him. I guess I wouldn't consider myself smart. I'd just say, I'm a degenerate. But Aaron Rodgers came through like higher. Now he's the highest owned quarterback of the week at 10%. It's just a smash game for him this week, I think so. But the thing is, I'm not really interested in correlating it back, like running back someone on the other side, unless his name is Goddard. I'll even take some risk with Jalen Reagor, but it's really risky on the Eagles side. I don't like Sanders this week, so they activated Jordan Howard, and I mean,
why do the game script really?
Yeah, I mean, it's just I don't know, man. It's just Rodgers. It definitely stands out from them. He's the highest value quarterback for me too, so to give you value with his points and everything, it makes sense. But if I'm stacking him with Devontae Adams for sure, and then I'll mix in Lazard, MBS, and Tunyon with Tunyon. And the other thing is I like MBS more than Lazard right now because this Lazard injury crap is really irritating me. Like he comes in, then he comes out, and then he misses a game. I don't know. I can't trust that. Then, of course, Mr. Ryan Tannehill, like the Cleveland Browns. I like him. Deshaun Watson. I was on him higher, but now I'm a little bit off him, but I'm still going to play him. It worries me that there's a stat out there that I think, Hamid, did you post it? Was it you? On Twitter, basically showing the difference between Deshaun Watson with Will Fuller and without Will Fuller. And it's almost like he's like a different man. Like
it's a significant drop.
Significant drop.
57%.
But the thing is, we can't, like I always say, when we look at that, we have to look at who the coach was too, right? Because some coaches will adapt to what they've seen in the past, and some coaches won't. Bill O'Brien's just a dumbass. He doesn't know how to do it. So Deshaun Watson, he's a GPP play for me. Now, this guy's probably going to make everybody throw up a little bit, but I'm really, really high on Kirk Cousins this week.
Yeah.
I love Kirk Cousins.
I like that. I have him in FanDuel as well.
I'm starting him this week as well, so he's getting hurt, just so you guys know.
Oh,
man, geez, see,
now we got to fucking
Jared, like, come on, man. Why?
I'll keep you guys posted in the Twitter group.
I want my $150 of money back in this roster that I'm putting in, so send it over.
According to the beat writer for the Eagles, Jerry Slate is expected to play.
So,
but he also got burned by Metcalf, which is common. But if Metcalf can burn him, I think Adams can burn him too. So that's my hard truth.
So wait, what did you say about Darius Slay?
Darius Slay is expected to be playing. Yes.
Okay, still doesn't change much, of course, but it would have changed. Like I would have been happier. But the reason why I like Kirk Cousins is because what's their name? The Jacksonville Jaguars tend to play a lot of cover 2, and Kirk Cousins dominates the cover 2 and cover 3. And when they're in cover 1, it's even harder for Jacksonville to contain because they have no good cornerbacks. If you go look at the cornerback depth chart and read those names, I guarantee you didn't even know they were in the NFL.
I'm not gonna lie to you, I can't name one.
Yeah, there you go. See, so I love Kirk Cousins this week, but what scares me is that, like earlier on, I said I'm not high on Dalvin Cook, and then I'm high on Kirk Cousins, but then his pass catchers are projected very well for me. So if this doesn't go the way I want it, I'm going to be losing a lot of money, because Dalvin Cook goes off, and then Kirk Cousins doesn't go off with that stack wide receiver Steven and what's the name? It's not what Jefferson. I'm gonna be sad, but oh well, you win some, you lose some.
The Jaguars are giving up the second most touchdowns to quarterbacks and also the third most fantasy points to the quarterback position. And they only have 8 interceptions on the year, so they're not exactly. Kirk Cousins should have a field day with this team.
It's just the Jaguars, they suck. We know that.
Better way to put it, yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, though, they somehow stay competitive in every freaking game. Like, they stay competitive in the Green Bay game. They stay competitive. What other game? This Luton and Minshew have been able to stay competitive in a lot of games. And then I actually think Mike Glennon's not bad. Let me say this real quick, though, at keeping the game environment neutral, Not saying he's a good quarterback. He looks like a giraffe in his picture. So, Jared Goff is the only other quarterback I like. So Goff, Rodgers, Tannehill, Watson, Cousins are my main quarterback. I get the whole Mitchell Trubisky talk, but I'm not going to go follow it.
Nope.
I don't
no.
I'm not I don't see the ceiling. He has had good game against them, but the thing is, to me, Mitchell Trubisky doesn't. I don't see a 300-point game out of him. 300-yard game out of him. But yeah, those are my quarterback.
All right, real quick, John wants to know Brandon Cooks, Amari Cooper, or Deontay Johnson. So this must be redraft. I'm guessing because Deontay doesn't play.
I guess it's a week-long slate. Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it's Brandon Cooks.
Wait, Brandon Cook, Deontay Johnson, who?
Amari Cooper.
For me, it's Brandon Cooks. I think he has the safer ceiling and also the safer floor out of all of these players. Pittsburgh's going up against a pretty decent defense, but of course, the volume is there for Deontay Johnson too. I think he'll be fine. But I think if you're chasing the ceiling, I'm going with Brandon Cooks here.
In what world is Brandon Cooks safe?
I don't know, man.
Wait. So let's talk this out.
Brandon Cooks and safe don't go together.
Are you talking? Okay, so you're talking about statistically.
Deontay Johnson has gotten 50 targets the last 4 games. If that doesn't scream to start him, I don't know what else to tell you, man.
I respect.
Put down the pipe, man. You need to relax.
I get it. Brandon Cook's a good play in DFS, but this is a season question. So Deontay.
Wait, is this rest of the season or is this just?
No, this is just this week. But Deontay Johnson, his target has been. He's had over 49 targets in the last 4 weeks. So
49. I counted 50. Whatever. It's there.
No surprise.
No, you're right. Yeah. So that's just screams safety for me. But Brandon Cook, the reason why I don't want to consider him ever safe is because one had hit from just getting out of the game. Like this guy, we can't depend on injuries, obviously. But I just think it's not that far apart either. They're like,
you have to think too. Will Fuller was drawing the number 1 cornerback away from Cooks as well. Now Cooks is going to have to deal with that too. Something to consider.
Yeah, but he's done it before. He played number 1 wide receiver, and in the Rams. He played number one wide receiver in Saints. I mean, that's before Michael Thomas took off. But he dealt with good cornerbacks. But it's just, to me, it's just Deontay Johnson's target monster.
The Texans are going to have to throw a ton this game.
I love how we don't care about Amari Cooper.
No one cares about Amari Cooper. Let's just forget about him. We've not even mentioned his name. My logic is simple. The Texans have really nobody else to throw to. Now, granted, Deontay Johnson is going to see double-digit targets. I think he's seen at least 13 targets in the past 4 weeks. That's his floor. I think I could be wrong about. No, sorry. He's seen at least 10 targets. There's one game where he had 10 targets. So he's seen at least 10 targets every single game in the past 4 or 5 weeks. Now, Brandon Cooks has not seen more than 9 targets since week 5. But, of course, with Will Fuller out, Stills is out, Cobb is out now as well. QT is the number 2 wide receiver now. But Atkins is going to play the slot a little bit as well. So Atkins is a pretty good streamer at tight end if you need one. But I think
Hamid, your logic is simple. You get into a car and you look at the seatbelt. You're like, nah, I'm good. Let's go.
Right this week, you could put Hamid on a NASCAR track with 4 left turns, and he would go right on the first one.
Yeah. Not just I don't think we could go wrong or right on Cook or Deontay. I mean, just pick one of those two, and you'll be all right. I mean, don't pick Cooper though. Fuck no.
Yeah, don't pick Cooper. We all agree with that. Do not pick
now
Cooper.
We're all recorded that not to play Cooper, and he'll get like 35.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Watch him outscore both of them.
Wayne or Pizza? Is that one?
Well, Tua's playing this week, right? How
Tua
many?
Tua is playing.
Okay.
Yes.
G, real quick before you have to go, who are your wide receivers?
What time is it? Oh, okay.
We're having fun.
We haven't even done tight end or defense.
We're too busy avoiding talking about Cooper. So
What?
Let me go real quick. Actually, I made a post on my Facebook group. So I'll just read that list. Give me a second. Is there any other question we can answer in the meantime?
Yeah, Mel Gordon, Tyler Boyd in the flex PPR.
Who?
Melvin Gordon or Tyler Boyd, flex PPR?
Well, I'm not playing Melvin Gordon. He's trash.
Tyler Boyd it is.
Wait,
okay.
go ahead. I'll answer the question after a cheese dunk.
So my top player at wide receiver. So I'm going to be really heavily correlated this week with those stacks. So the stacks that are correlated in wide receivers are Jefferson, Thielen, and Shark. Number 1, number 2, Devontae Parker, Valdez-Scantling, and Goddard. Number 3, A.J. Brown, Anthony Bursker, and Jarvis Landry. Number 4, Robert Wood, Cooper Kupp, Isabella. Number 5, Brandon Kirk, Jordan Aikens, and T.Y. Hilton. So if you hear any of those wide receivers I will be on. Other wide receivers that I like that are my favorite. Number 1 is definitely Allen Robinson. Devontae Adams, number 1, by the way. But Allen Robinson is one of my favorite.
Yep.
Also like A.J. Brown, Kiki Kuti. Those guys are on my list. Some lower price guys that I'm really on. Sorry, I'm trying to burp or something. I don't know. I got something like stuck in my. Anthony Miller, he's going to be playing in a slot. Detroit gets killed by wide receivers in the slot. Darnell Mooney too. I know it sounds weird. We're saying 2 Bears wide receivers, but trust me, they're going to be good value. Let's see. Denzel Mims. I think this is the week he might have that big game. Leads the league in air yards in the last 3 weeks or 4 weeks, I think. But one guy that I think really stands out is definitely Allen Robinson. I can see him getting a 30-point game this week.
Before you continue on that, so now you said Mooney, Miller, and Robinson.
I know. But I'm not playing.
But you're fading Mitch Trubisky. So
it's the value that I'm looking at. It's the value. So like I only need like Darnell Mooney and Anthony Miller. They're only 3,000. If they get me 10 points, I'm happy because that allowed me to pay up for Henry and that. But
so you got 30 points for Allen Robinson, 10 points each for Miller and.
You know what's gonna happen?
But Mitch Trubisky's a fade.
He's gonna get hurt, and the backup quarterback's gonna do good.
Nick Foles is gonna come in and just light it up.
And in case the watchers are wondering, Okuda and Trufant are both out, is why I was adding to G's logic this week. So that's one of the reasons why I actually highly spoken of Bears receivers. It's the head scratcher that'd be for anyone watching.
Hey,
Tight
Chinese
end,
is there. He's
tight end
gonna.
is very simple for me. Sorry, guys, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
You're fine.
Tight end is very simple for me. Pay down this week.
Yep.
Two guys that I'm really looking at is Jordan
Hurts.
Aiken, a converted tight end, wide receiver. Last week we heard Deshaun Watson say, "Oh, Aiken should have had 2 touchdowns." I'll get him back. And trust me, if there's any position in the league that has control of what they can do, it's quarterback. They can think of like, oh yeah, well, yeah. Anthony Firsker for the Tennessee Titans. We've seen this guy in good role. I mean, this season already. Baltimore, he got 7 points. And game against Houston, he got 28 points. I mean, 8 points. So we're seeing the ceiling right here, right? 7 points and the floor. I mean, the floor is 7 points. The ceiling 28 points, I guess. I would never put down a tight end for a ceiling unless your name is Travis Kelce. But I like Firsker. He's a really good pass catching tight end for what's his name? They do. I remember watching Firsker run route, and they do those option routes. You know, where he either chooses to go in or out.
Yep.
And Tannehill does a lot because of the play action that they do with what's his name, Derrick Henry. In this game with Myles Garrett, I believe Derrick. I can't wait to watch this too.
It's gonna be a great game.
Yeah, Myles Garrett just like collide. It's gonna be so much fun. But
so what you're saying is the Browns are going to be saying "Mother Ferkser" when he scores.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a cheesehead.
Wow.
Oh, Jared.
Quick, Heather's been waiting for a few minutes. She wants to know, she has to sit one. Thomas Woods, A.J. Brown, or DeAndre Hopkins? Those.
Wow. Are
What
you
is this, a
first in your
16
league?
league?
Maybe first in your league with that roster.
I would say Thomas.
I agree.
He has the worst situation at quarterback. Actually, I don't know because I don't think Kyler Murray is right now.
What's
But
it, Dean?
I'd
You
say
know what, guys? I'm going to go.
Hopkins also has Jalen Ramsey too.
yeah.
No, I'm not worried about Hopkins and Jalen Ramsey.
Well, but hey. Hopkins has a history of owning Jalen Ramsey.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot.
Yeah, there's a history there.
Well, he was.
Yeah, but his quarterback didn't have a sore shoulder either.
And,
Yeah.
Kyler Murray.
So I think Kyle Senra asked me, Gerson, how was your Saturday morning after Friday Night Pyramid? Bro, that's a Friday. That's a normal night for me on a weekend, man. I pound like 24 beers on that show. I counted, and I started doing my final research I got out of work like around 4 o'clock. No, 3 o'clock. Went to the gas station, got a 24 pack, and then an 8 pack of Murphy's that are like the tall boys. I counted my beers the next day when I was cleaning my office. I was like, holy crap, I got like 24 beers in 4 hours. Okay. Well, and I did it, most of it during the show. I had a pyramid up to here. And I was like, this isn't my pyramid, this is my Christmas tree. But nah. Defense, pretty simple because I got to get out of here. Is the value defense of the week is actually, what the hell happened? Okay. I was like, because we were arguing the Deontay Johnson stuff, so I had to put the whole slate and make sure I was right. It's the Jets defense is the best value, but they're not the great play though. They're just cheap. But the best value defense is the Bears, like Jared said. Versus Detroit. What's the name?
No Swift, no Amendola, no Golladay.
I mean, yeah. And then after that, the Seahawks defense, I'm high on them too versus the Colt McCoy-led offense. Let's see who else. But the best defense, obviously, the Dolphins versus is it Brandon Allen?
It is.
Yeah, Brandon. Dude, that guy looked terrible last week too. He like 5 yards per pass, I swear.
And it's a shame you got to fade the Bengals wideouts as a result, and they were doing so well.
Yeah, Higgins was really blowing up. I mean, I just feel bad for Joe Burrow. I mean, think about it. You lived the greatest season in college history for a quarterback. Then you won the what do they call it? National title. And you get drafted number 1, and then you tear your ACL. That's
yeah. Burrow's on a historic pace.
Packers defense with Carson Wentz, of course, but I think my highest owned defense is for sure going to be the Seahawks and Bears. But other than that, this week it's a little bit diversified. Like it's very different, but I think the quarterbacks is going to matter a lot this week. But with that being said, guys, I hope you guys have a great rest of the show. Catch me pod on Twitter, the DFS Roundtable Facebook group, and the show on Friday night and Sunday. All right, peace out. Good luck.
Cheers, G.
All right.
So I got to jump in this.
Real quick questions from Smithington. Half PPR, Debo, David Johnson, Michael Pittman. You have to pick only one.
Before we go to that, can we go back to Heather's question? Because I didn't have a chance to talk on that. I wanted to mention
Oh, you didn't?
about that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good. You're good. I would actually say, I hate saying this. I really, really hate saying this, but I would consider if I had to bench somebody out of those four, it'd be DeAndre Hopkins. And I think I'm going to get a lot of trash for this. And I totally get it, and I could be totally wrong about this. But in the past 4 weeks, Hopkins has seen more than double-digit targets just once. The volume, if we're going off of volume, Michael Thomas is going to out-volume DeAndre. Michael Thomas, it was Woods, DeAndre Hopkins. Who was the fourth wide receiver?
A.J. Brown.
A.J. Brown. All of them have been seeing more targets than, well, A.J. Brown, okay, fine. He hasn't seen more targets than DeAndre Hopkins. But I think the safer play here would be to bench Hopkins because he's seen 8 and 7 targets in the past 2 weeks. And he's only had 5 receptions. He's actually had more than 5 receptions only once in the past 4 weeks. And he's not gone over 10.5 fantasy points except for 1 week in the past 4 weeks either. So, and a lot of this has to do maybe with the defense or also the shoulder has a role to play. I don't know if he's 100% healthy yet. If Murray is 100% healthy, then of course you're not benching DeAndre Hopkins. But he has not been targeted as much recently
Since the shoulder injury.
Since the shoulder, and even before the shoulder injury, also DeAndre Hopkins had only seen double-digit targets 4 times all year. So he's been a bit more on the efficient side than actually just being volume. Because in Texas, in Houston, sorry, well, yeah, that is in Texas. He was targeted a ton, like double digits automatic every week. This year, he's only had 4 weeks where that has happened. So you bank a little bit more on the efficiency with the touchdowns and those red zone targets.
The experts predicted that would happen the beginning of the season, though.
That's correct. But now his efficiency has also dipped a little bit. Now, that has to do a lot with, of course, the air yards. Kyler Murray has not been throwing it downfield as much because of the shoulder. Does that change this week? Do we know if he's 100% healthy? I don't. So out of the 4 wide receivers that Heather's mentioned, I would say that Hopkins has the potential for the lowest ceiling out of those 4, given circumstances. So I would bench Hopkins for that.
What do you know, Jared? What did you say? You said Thomas, right? Jared?
I did. Yeah, I did. I think Hill hampers his value much like Kamara's to G's point. So I was there. And then to go back one more deeper, the Chiefs are actually on the lower end in allowing rushing yards and are allowing 4.7 yards per carry this season. So Melvin Gordon could slot in as a good flex play. He actually ran for, I think, 17.68. So only 4 average with a 1 rushing touchdown. He did fumble twice and lost both fumbles that game too. So who knows? They might try and force another turnover on him. But I think he's a flex play against the Chiefs.
Yeah, the Chiefs are actually tied for 10th in the league in most rushing yards allowed. But however, they're tied for the 4th fewest rushing touchdowns allowed, which is 6. Where Melvin Gordon is going to make the biggest difference in this game is going to be in the passing game, where the Chiefs are being targeted at the running back position in the top 10 in the league. And they've given up the 5th most receiving yards to the running back position. So I think Melvin Gordon is going to make a difference in this game the most. I think he will make it on the ground, like Jared said. But I think the upside is with the reception, with the receiving game. The Broncos defense is not going to stop the Chiefs. And with Locke back, I think that also helps Melvin Gordon with the ground and also in the receiving game. So I actually do like Melvin Gordon in this game.
Is Philip Lindsay out?
He's not. He is expected to play.
He is expected to play, yes. He is playing.
Yeah, I think that Philip Lindsay is going to be targeted more than Gordon in that game. But, okay. So, A.J. Smithington, half PPR, Debo, David Johnson, Michael Pittman. You can only pick one.
Debo.
Be one.
Debo.
You know, okay, I'll have to agree with that. I mean, 13 targets and 10 receptions, 133 yards? I think.
And you can pass against the Bills, as weird as that is to say. I wasn't expecting to say that this season.
That defense has not been the same this year. Injuries has something to do with it, and maybe not having an option, I don't know. But even Tre'Davious White, he has not been the same as he's been the previous year. So
Yeah.
I do like Debo here as well. I have to agree.
Hey, Matt, I think that G answered you before he left. The Packers are a viable defense in DFS because they're going against Carson Wentz. So that was
Anybody going against Carson Wentz is a viable
And
defense.
that whole offensive line is just wrecked. I mean,
It is right. Hamed, is Hicks back for the Bears? Garrett wants to know.
Yes, he is. Hakeem Hicks is back for the Bears.
And
Let me confirm that. Last I read, he was expected to be playing. Let me just confirm that real quick.
Okay.
And while you're confirming, I actually was hoping that you would speak out about your boy Wayne Gallman this week because I'm ready for it, Hamed. Just so you know, the Seahawks are allowing the third least amount of rushing yards and yards per carry at 3.7 per attempt. You actually think Gallman's going to be able to run on them with Colt as the backup, and you think game script will prevent that? Granted, they've allowed 15 rushing touchdowns, which is in a top part of the league, but
I'm glad.
wondered.
So, rushing touchdowns total, they've given up they've given 5 rushing touchdowns to quarterbacks. To the running back, though, they've given up 10 rushing touchdowns.
Hey, Carlos Dunlap playing for Seattle, or is he out with the injury?
I think he was out.
If I recall as well, he was up, but let me just take a look real quick here.
I see him as game time decision, but that was yesterday, so I don't know. What do you got?
I heard he was out, but we're waiting on Hamed. So while we're waiting, Kyle in his Canadian crazy league, PPR, Gio Bernard or Kerryon Johnson?
Well, who was the first?
Gio Bernard, which I don't even know why I would go Kerryon, but that's just me.
I agree. Kerryon Johnson for PPR. I mean, the Lions also let go of Marvin Hall, so they're giving their younger players a shot. Quintus, I don't know what's his name. I forget his name. Yeah, he has like some type of Greek god name or something. But yeah, I do. I would go Kerryon Johnson here. He did get some more targets last week. I don't think Adrian Peterson's going to be able to run the ball. Of course, his fantasy output last week was the 2 touchdowns that he had inside the 5. So you're banking on that with Adrian Peterson. I think they will move the ball by throwing it, and I think Kerryon Johnson will be the safer play here. I think good for between 8 to 12 fantasy points, and that's his ceiling for me. But he's a lower flex option.
What did you find out about Dunlap? Yay or nay? It doesn't say?
It does not say. They've not decided that yet. He is expected to play, but he's the game time decision still.
Okay. Jared, did you answer Kyle in his crazy league? Kerryon or Gio?
I'm not excited about either, but I have to go Gio just for the fact that the Bears' run defense is just animalistic, and I don't see. Yeah, I'm on fire today. I'm not even drunk. But it's just so difficult for almost anyone to run on the Bears defense. I don't see it. That's one exploitable thing you can do against Miami is run against them. So I think that the upside there is with Gio, even though he's been not that great to shine, but the Dolphins are the 7th worst to allow running and at 4.8 yards per carry. So there's some upside with Bernard here.
And just to talk about that a little bit more. So the Dolphins have given up 8 rushing touchdowns to the running back position. However, where I think the issue is with Gio Bernard, though, is in the last 3 weeks, he's not seen more than 9 carries in any game. So I think his touch is where he's making up the difference is in the receiving game. He's seen 7, 5, and 3 targets in the past 3 weeks. That's a total of 15 targets in total. And he's had 10 receptions in the last 3 weeks. So the upside, I think his ceiling is 10 to 12 fantasy points, and it's hard for me to bank on that in a game that, at least for the Detroit Lions, I think Stafford's going to significantly throw the ball much more than they're expecting the Bengals are going to. So I think for me, the safer. I think they both finished relatively close, but I'm going to go with Kerryon Johnson.
Okay. AJ Smithington wants to know: are you confident in Debo even with the Ayuk back? Would you still play Debo over his other choices.
Who was the other choice again? Sorry.
Ooh, I don't know. Hold on. Let me see if I can find him.
And similarly to Carry On, Hamid, you're talking the same thing with his receiving, though. I mean, 9 targets the last 2 games for Carry On as well, though.
His other choices were David Johnson and Michael Pittman.
David Johnson is expected to get a full workload, and you can expect so. He hasn't been very efficient though with his touches, even so. It's really hard. That's a good one.
I mean, you could go volume-based with DJ because of Fuller being out. Maybe they run a little more.
Yeah, but your first choice was Debo. He wants to know, are you going to stick with Debo even with Ayuk back, or are you going to switch to David Johnson or Michael Pittman now?
I'm still going with Debo Samuel. David Johnson has not been efficient with the load that he's been getting. And even though this offense is depleted on the wide receiver core, that may make them more focused, even more on the running game to stop and make Watson throw more. I just can't trust that. If they weren't good with a healthy receiving core, I can't expect David Johnson to be better without a receiving core. So I think he'll get more touches and be even less efficient, which is a scary thought. So in that regard, I still feel very comfortable with Debo Samuel out of those options.
Jared, what say you?
Staying put.
Matt wants to know Aaron Jones or James Robinson?
Wow.
James Robinson.
I'm going to go James. You know, I know Jared's going to hate this pick. Hate this, but I'm going with James Robinson. I mean, it does not get any more consistent than James Robinson throughout the season. He was undrafted free agent, right? He wasn't even drafted.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he has – how many RB1 finishes does James Robinson have? He has in the past – let's talk about in the past. Wow. So, okay. He had only 2 weeks where he's not finished wide receiver 1. Wow. RB1, which is either even in a 10-man league or a 12-man league. He's finished top 9 since week 6, top 9 in every week except 2 weeks against the Packers and the Steelers. And even then, he finished RB 19 and 22. Like, you can't beat this consistency. RB 9, RB 2, RB 5, RB 3. Like, that is consistent RB1 production you're getting out of this guy. And he's a 3-down back, literally. Look at this. Last week against the Browns, he had 100% of the offensive snaps. He was on the field. There was no other running back on the field except for him. 22 carries, 17, 23, 25, 22. He's getting the carries and the targets on this offense. James Robinson is the consistent play here. And I think week in and week out, I would not hate you for saying you want to start James Robinson over Aaron Jones every week.
Oh, so this week now we can bench Aaron Jones. Got it. Okay.
I didn't say bench him.
I just wanted to make sure
you had James
so
Robinson.
now you're sane for saying that, but I'm insane for saying. Got it.
No. You have to be clear what I'm saying though. In this person's question, it's either Aaron Jones or James Robinson. Over James Robinson, yes, you're benching Aaron Jones. But if you have only one or the other, of course you're gonna. Unless I don't know who your options are other than Aaron Jones, I'm not saying you bench him 100%. In this instance, yes, you bench him over James Robinson.
Would you play A.J. Brown or Aaron Jones this week, Hamid?
A.J. Brown.
Okay.
All right, so I guess where are you going, Jared, with this? Aaron Jones or James Robinson?
Say Aaron Jones then and tell me why.
Robinson.
What?
Yes, that's why I didn't hate the pick.
Okay, so Matt, it's James Robinson for these two. Ian wants to know Anthony Miller or Darnell Mooney a better punt?
Oh, that's a really good one, Ian. Oh man, I'm a huge Anthony Miller guy. I believed in this guy when he was drafted, and I really like him. I know Mooney's I think on a points per game basis, I think Mooney's outshined Anthony Miller by a decent margin. But if there's a game, this is really tough because I think they both finished pretty close to each other. I don't think you can go wrong with either pick, to be honest. I'm gonna go Anthony Miller, but I can't hate you for either one. I think they're both pretty close to each other. I think Allen Robinson gets all the targets anyway, but I think they both can finish between 8 to 10 fantasy points. Take your pick. I would go Miller, but if you're chasing the touchdown, then Mooney's your better choice, of course. From a volume standpoint, the slot receiver is always the better play. And Miller does line up in the slot 88.2% of the time. So that's 367 snaps. So I will go Anthony Miller, but I won't hate you for going Mooney.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree.
You agree? Nice. What? You guys boys are playing
What's
nice.
What's going on here? Stop drinking what you're drinking.
It was you two being so kind to each other. I guess it's just toxic to me. So
Gallup as a flex option instead of going with the running backs. His Kerryon Johnson and who's the other one that was not a really great choice? Gio, Kerryon Johnson or Michael Gallup then is his flex.
I say Gio.
And then it goes back to me, with Kerryon Johnson. So now I'm gonna say Kerryon Johnson over Michael Gallup, who has seen only more than 3 targets in the past 3 weeks. He's seen more than 3 targets only once, and he has not topped 50 yards in the past 3 weeks. He's topped over 50 air yards, but not the receiving yards, which actually count in fantasy. So I'm gonna go with Kerryon Johnson here. I can't trust the Cowboys. Ravens. Dalton doesn't even have time to throw now. He has to. Since Dalton took over, he has had to progress through his reads, and I got this, I forget where I read this exactly, but he cannot even progress through all of his reads. So Michael Gallup's probably not. It's not even his first option to read. I just don't. Unless Michael Gallup catches a deep ball, I don't think he's going to return the value that you're going to get. I think Kerryon Johnson does give you the safer floor and a lower ceiling than Gallup because, of course, he's a deep threat, but. I'm going to take Kerryon Johnson over Gallup as well.
Yeah, I don't like Gallup, but okay. So Garrett wants to know, does Dalvin Cook bounce back this week in DFS? Okay. 2 things to remember on that. One, who the offensive coordinator came out and said that Dalvin Cook is beaten up a little bit, and they were going to try to not have him beaten up as much, and there's no reason against Jacksonville that he should play the entire game. So I say no, but what say you, Jared?
Madison is out, I believe.
That's correct. He is out.
So, do you rely on Boone to siphon touches? I'm not there.
So you think Dalvin Cook is that what you're saying?
I don't think he's going to hit his max ceiling, but he should be good for a good 16 to 18 this week. But I don't think it'll reflect in the value of DFS. You could get that for a little bit less and still budget and find other good players to cover the spread. Between the two, I'm taking, and I think they're about the same price. Dalvin might even be a couple hundred more, but I'd take Henry before I took Cook if you're in DFS.
Let's say Ahmed.
Is Dalvin Cook and who else?
No, he just wants to know if he's going to bounce back this week. It's not a choice.
Okay. I do. I was just looking at Dalvin Cook's value here. He is the most expensive running back on FanDuel at 10,500, and Henry is 10,000. I'm looking at this right now.
So 500.
Yeah, it's a $500 difference. I do think he does bounce back. I don't think Madison even being active would have mattered. Dalvin Cook is a locked-in 20-25 touches on the ground at least anyway. So I think this is a bounce-back spot for him just because of the defense they're facing. They're facing one of the worst defenses in the league. We've broken their defense down as far as the Jaguars are concerned, how bad they are against the run. So I'd be comfortable with starting Dalvin Cook this week.
Okay. I kind of agree with Jared. I don't think he's going to hit his value in DFS. I think they're going to cut back on him, but I see your point. Matt wants to know Juju or Debo. And Matt says he plays, so this is DFS.
Oh, this is DFS?
Yeah, Matt said he plays the week-long slate in DFS. So Juju or Debo.
This is DFS. Let me look up their values real quick.
I'm going to go Juju. Sorry. Go ahead.
So Debo is 6,000. Juju is 60. So there's $200 difference between the two.
Juju's higher?
Yeah, Juju is higher by 200.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to go a little differently here. I'm going to go with neither. How about you start for 400 more, start Cooper Kupp at 6,600.
Cooper Kupp?
I'd rather start Cooper Kupp over him. I'd rather start Corey Davis over Juju, who's at 6,100. I'll even start Jarvis Landry for 6,000, actually, for that matter. And Debo's just at 6,000 as well.
You had to kill Jarvis Landry. Then you lost me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just not sold on. So okay, I own Juju. I have in my and I am starting him. I'm not benching him, of course, but he's going up against Jimmy Moreland, who's actually one of the best slot corners in the league. He has not allowed a touchdown this year, and he also so I'm not on volume alone. Juju is I always say a borderline low wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. But the problem is this year, and we've talked about this a ton already over the season. The air yards, that is what it's killing Juju's value. Last week he had 8 receptions for 37 yards, I think it was.
This season no, I have to cut you off, Hamid. I'm sorry. This season he's averaging 8.7 yards per catch. That's horrid.
That's terrible.
To your point.
Yeah. It's absolutely atrocious. So I rather you pay $400 more to start either Cooper Kupp, or you can pay less for Jarvis Landry, $2,200 less, or for $6,100. I like Corey Davis this week as well.
So Matt, no Juju. I don't agree with the Jarvis Landry, but I do agree with the Cooper Kupp or the Corey Davis.
Yes, Corey Davis. For 61.
Debo's the guy. I think Ayuk is still out with COVID this week, so.
Oh, I thought Ayuk was back.
Oh, I thought he was back too.
Yeah, I think Ayuk is back this week.
Okay. Yeah, see that he practiced in full on the 3rd. All right, I stand corrected. That changes it a little bit. I could agree with the Kupp thing, but if you're leaning Debo, I between those two, I go Debo hands down.
Yeah. So out of that price range, you said Kupp. Matt wants to know. Yes. Out of that price range,
it's 400 more, Matt. Yeah, it's 400 more, 6,600 on FanDuel. But yeah, I do like Kupp out all of the names that I mentioned, including the one that you've mentioned, to have the best game of this week.
Now, does Kupp draw Patrick Peterson though? That's the only thing you have to think about.
Does Patrick Peterson cover the slot though?
Fair.
No.
I don't think he does not cover the slot.
He usually covers elbow.
I think.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say he'll probably cover Woods.
Yeah, I like Kupp in that game actually. So
I do.
I would in that price range I would go Kupp. Kyle wants to know PPR start 1: Naheem Hines, Zach Moss, or Jamal Williams. Ooh. Zach Moss out.
Hines.
Yeah, if it's Hines or Williams, I would think probably Hines. He's going to need that.
It's really between Hines and Williams, and Williams surprisingly has been getting touches. I don't know. I don't understand the logic behind why
17 attempts last week. Yeah.
I really don't get why he is, but I mean, so if there's a way to predict that, then yes, I will pay Jamal Williams over Hines even. But right now, I can't see the future. I'm gonna go with Hines here.
I'm gonna slightly go with Hines over Williams, but no Zach Moss.
Not by much, yeah.
Should we blast through our must starts real quick, Gladys?
You can do that as you give your signature sign off. Yes, because we have 2 minutes for people to put their lineups in. 2 minutes to go. Go, Jared. Yes. Must starts. You.
Must starts. DJ Shark against Minnesota defense. Myles Gaskin, the only healthy running back. Allen Robinson, no DBs playing. Sleepers, Devontae Booker with Jacobs out. Anthony Ferkshire with Jonnu out. Deep sleepers, Andy Isabella with Fitzgerald having COVID. Quintez Cephas with Marvin Hall being rumored to be waived, and Galladay is done. Boom.
Ahmed.
Yeah, everybody. Before I give you my must starts, I'm actually going to switch it up and tell you what I'm doing my lineup this week. I'm going to back up what I'm saying here, okay, guys? My RB1 this week this is a redraft league. I have to win. I need 2 of my opponents to lose, and I have to outscore my opponents by 12 points. Here's what I'm doing. I'm benching Zeke. I have Wayne Gallman and David Montgomery as my RB1 and RB2, and I'm flexing. Yes, I am flexing Henry Ruggs this week. I am banking on the fact that without Josh Jacobs, the run game is going to suffer. Derek Carr is going to have to throw more, and I'm banking on a long touchdown from Henry Ruggs. I have to win and outscore my opponent at the same time to make the playoffs. So I'm taking a bit of a risk with benching Zeke, but the offensive line, Zach Martin is also now gone. They've started over 13 different combinations at their offensive line. So I am benching Zeke over those. So now if you ask me, yes, I start Gallman, I start Montgomery, over Zeke this week.
Gallman
If you have them,
over Zeke,
yes,
man.
I am starting Gallman over Zeke. And you can
And
find me on
you yelled at me for the
85
Aaron
for these
Johnston. You're
hot
out of
takes.
your mind
Take
again.
it to the bank,
You're
guys.
drinking the crazy stuff.
I have faith in Gallman. Even as a Giants fan. Let's go, guys.
Okay,
And
guys, I have a quick question. Derek Carr or Deshaun Watson?
Watson.
Derek
Comment?
Carr against the Jets. I hate saying this because he really, really, really cost me in FanDuel last week with 1 point last week. But I think against the Jets, who are one of the worst defenses in the league, I think they are giving up the third most points to the quarterback position. I'm going with Derek Carr or Watson. As crazy as that sounds.
Parting words. This is the big week for waiver wire for Dynasty. You need to sign guys like Quintez Cephas. You need to sign guys like Gabe Davis. You need to sign guys like I don't know, anyone at Hamid says to sign, you ignore, that type of deal. So this is where you're successful in Dynasty, especially if you're not a competing team. So look to those younger guys, look at your rookies, look at people you can sign and stash into the next following year. There's training camp hype. Use that hype to make a move and move up in the draft or anything like that. Just ways that to take into competitive advantage in your league. So just start considering looking at younger guys. Review some college tape. That's going to be my parting words for you this week.
And Ahmed, what you got, babe?
Well, I'm parting words. Oh, I thought that was my parting words. Okay.
Your lineup, that great lineup that you have?
Yes, that was my parting words for the week. Yes, I just wanted to share.
We could do like the Michael Scott thing. Instead of doing a bunch of intros, we'll do a bunch of outros.
I wanted to back up what I say when I give these takes of mine. I also don't just say it and then just do something totally different. I do what I say. I am benching Zeke for Wayne Gallman and David Montgomery. I'm saying it with a totally straight face. I hate it, but I'm doing it. I'm desperate. I have to win. I have to also outscore another opponent to make the playoffs. So, yes, I'm doing it, and I'll talk to you guys next Sunday about how my week went and if this take was wrong or right. Book it.
Well, I'm benching Deshaun Watson for Derek Carr in a league because, yeah, no Will Fuller, man. I'm doing it. Garrett wants to know, last question, favorite defense this week in DFS?
The Bears.
We're going against the Eagles.
The Bears.
Packers. Packers are going against Eagles.
For the value, I don't know how much they're valued. Let me check real quick.
You got to go with the Bears, although Hawkinson might be able to sneak one down the field. I think they're allowing the third most fantasy points to tight ends. But beyond that, I think the Bears have the ability to still get to the quarterback. Stafford's a little bit dinged up, and he has no one else to throw to. I don't see Peterson or Carry-On being able to run on that defense. It's a high upside and a good value play. I think they're like the 6th or 7th most expensive D, so I'm going to Bears.
Bears cost $4,200. Packers cost $4,100. I like both defenses, like Jared said, but I would go save the 100 where you can. I'll go with the Packers defense.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Good luck in getting into your playoffs. We will see you next week. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Glad the cat's okay. Everyone, go get them. Unless I'm playing you.
Come on.
I am benching. We will talk next Sunday about this take of mine, okay? Wayne Gallman, David Montgomery over Zeke is what I'm doing, guys. And I'm flexing Henry Ruggs. I'm not even flexing Zeke. I am flexing Henry Ruggs over Zeke. Zeke is all the way on the bench this week.